Okay, here's a quick review and summary of trig stuff that we've been talking about. By far, the most important thing that we've been talking about is SOHCAHTOA. So SOHCAHTOA looks like this. The first part of SOHCAHTOA tells us the formula for sine. It's telling us that sine of an angle is the opposite side over the hypotenuse. That's how we got to read that. It's really important that we get stuff in the right spot. The angle goes here. The sides go here. You can't just put stuff all willy-nilly. SOHCAHTOA is only for right triangles. That's how we know when to use it. So this problem, because it has a right angle, is the SOHCAHTOA problem. And so we got to be able to label everything properly. The 40 side is the hypotenuse, because the hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. Find the right angle, go right across from it, there'll be a slanted line. That's the hypotenuse. The other sides are a little trickier. You've got to pay attention to the angle. The angle here is 39, not the right angle, the angle. The angle is 39. If you go opposite from that, that gives you the opposite side. And then whatever's left over is the adjacent side, which on this problem, we don't need it because it's blank. But that would be the adjacent side. So I'm just going to erase it. Now we go ahead and we fill in our formula. The formula says that we do sine of the angle, and then we fill in the sides. The opposite side, which is x, goes on the top. The hypotenuse, which is 40, goes on the bottom. You've got to put stuff in the right spot or it's not going to work out. Next up, we just go ahead and solve this thing. The sine of 39 is in your calculator, so just type sine 39. And now you're going to cross multiply and divide. So 0.6293 times 40. And then divide by 1, and you get your answer. Cosine is hidden in the middle of SOHCAHTOA. It's telling us that the cosine of an angle is the adjacent side divided by the hypotenuse. This problem uses cosine. Here's why. It uses SOHCAHTOA because it's a right angle. Across from the right angle is the hypotenuse. The angle is 39. Across from that is the opposite side, which is blank on this problem. And then the leftover side is the adjacent. So I use cosine because I have the adjacent and I have the hypotenuse. That's what was given to me. I can't use blank sides, so I don't want to use the opposite side. Now I fill in the formula. Cosine, the angle is 39, the adjacent side is x, the hypotenuse is 40. And then just like the last one, I type in cosine 39 on the calculator, and now I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So 0.7771 times 40, and I divide it by 1. The last part of SOHCAHTOA is tangent. The tangent of an angle is the opposite side divided by the adjacent. This problem over here uses tangent because there is no hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is totally blank. And that's fine for the tangent formula because it doesn't have hypotenuse in it. It has opposite and adjacent. So now I go ahead and label the sides. Across from the angle is the opposite side, and then the leftover side is the adjacent. Now I carefully fill the formula in. Tangent of 39, opposite is 17, the adjacent is x. I type tangent 39 into my calculator, and I cross cross multiply and divide. This one's different than the other two. I cross multiply that way because that's where the numbers are. So 1 times 17, and then divide by 0.8098. Get my answer. If a triangle is not a right triangle, then I can use the law of sines or the law of cosines. Use the law of sines if two angles are given, whether they're numbers or x's. If there's two angles in the problem, then use the law of sines. This formula, what it's trying to say is the angles go here. See how you need two angles in order to do it? So the angles go there, and the sides go on the bottom. Now here's the catch. The angles and sides must be opposites. So if you go over here and look at the example, the 52 is going to go with the x, because they're opposites. The 71 is going nowhere, because this is blank over here. I can't use the 71. Instead, I have to figure out, this is 57, because 71 plus 52 plus 57 adds up to 180. So 57 and the 31 go together. Now I go ahead and I fill in my formula. Sine of an angle over its opposite side. Sine of an angle over its opposite side. Now this looks different than the SOHCAHTOA problems, but you still do it pretty much the same. You go ahead and you type in sine of 52. You go ahead and type in sine of 57. And now I'm going to cross multiply. Wherever there are two numbers, I cross multiply. So I cross multiply, and then I divide by 0.8387, and I get my answer. Alright, last rule here, the law of cosines, we use with only one given angle, whether it's an x or a number. So this one has just one given angle. And if you look at the formula, A, B, and C are sides. Capital A is the angle. Little a is the side opposite. The other two, it doesn't matter. So these two are important. The other two, no one cares. So what I'm trying to tell you is the x must go for A. And then the 25 and the 30, you can have those switched around, and it's all going to work out anyhow. But you got to get the angle in the right spot. So 41 is where the angle goes. Now I can just type this big mess into my calculator, and I should have done it ahead of time, so you don't have to sit there and wait for me. But I didn't. And so I type all that in, and because it says x squared, I take the square root and get my answer. Alright, that's the rules. We're going to zip through 3 quick examples to wrap this video up. The first problem is not SOHCAHTOA because it doesn't have a right angle. It's law of sines because there's two given angles. So to do that, I take the angle and the side opposite from it, and fill them into the formula. I take the angle and the side opposite from it, and I fill in the formula. Now, just like the other ones, I'm going to convert. So I type in sine 94 on my calculator and get 0.9976. And now I'm going to cross multiply and divide. So I'm going to go 17 times 0.9976 divided by 29. And this one's a little bit different because I'm not quite finished. I wasn't finding what x was, I was finding what sine x was. So in order to get the angle, I use the second button. So if I hit second sine 0.5848, that'll give me the angle. Alright, the second example is definitely SOHCAHTOA because it has a right angle. So now I'm going to label the sides. Hypotenuse is across from the right angle. Here is the angle, and opposite from that is 42. So this one uses opposite and hypotenuse. So if I go back to SOHCAHTOA, I look at the three formulas. Which one has opposite and hypotenuse in it? That is sine. The sine formula looks like this. So now I fill it in. Angle goes here. Opposite goes here. And hypotenuse goes here. Type sine 50 into my calculator. Cross multiply 1 times 42 and then divide by 0.7660. I get the answer. Alright, last one. SOHCAHTOA again. If I label the sides, hypotenuse would go here, which is not helpful. It's blank. Oops, not killed the side. Here's the angle. 17 is opposite. 15 is adjacent. If you go back to your formulas, the only formula that uses opposite and adjacent is tangent. Fill in the angle, fill in the opposite, fill in the adjacent. Because I'm trying to find an angle, I use the second button. Second tangent, 17 divided by 15. I'll get my answer.